Coming to you from his studio in downtown San Francisco, this is the Backstage Bay Area Podcast. And now, here's your host, Steve Roby.
Hey, welcome everyone. This is Backstage Bay Area. Thanks for joining us. I'm Steve Roby. Today's guest is pianist, composer, and arranger John Beasley, a musician whose career has moved fluently across jazz, film, television, and large ensemble composition. He came up playing with Miles Davis and Freddie Hubbard, went on to build projects like Monkastra and Bird Lives, and now returns with a new release, Invisible Piano, a collaboration with Germany's SWR Big Band. The album features 5 original compositions and 2 fresh arrangements, including James Taylor's song Fire and Rain and the title track Invisible Piano. Beasley is also leading Unlimited Miles, an all-star centennial tribute to Miles Davis, coming to the Presidio Theater on May 14th. John Beasley joins me now. Hey, John, welcome to Backstage Bay Area.
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Hey, John, before we get into the new album and the Miles Davis project, where am I reaching you today?
I am in Denver, Colorado.
Ah, my old hometown.
Really? Oh, cool.
I used to cover shows at Dazzle and the Performing Arts Center there, so...
Oh, nice. Well, this is the 2nd annual Denver Jazz Festival.
All right. Yes.
Yeah, it's like Wednesday through Sunday, I believe. I'm going to play a solo piano concert at, you probably know the name of this piano store. I'm spacing out on it right now, tonight. And then we play with the Miles Band, Unlimited Miles, Friday night.
All right. Great. Well, I'm glad we reached you today, and we'll talk about some of the local events happening here in San Francisco in a moment. But first, I want to talk about your diverse career in jazz, film, television, and orchestral music. But at its core, it's all centered around the piano. Looking back to the beginning, what initially drew you to music seriously, and what made jazz feel like home for you?
My parents are both musicians and music educators, and my grandfather was too. So there was always music around the house. I just grew up with instruments around and hearing my parents practice. My dad is a pianist, I should say, is a pianist, and was interested in a lot of different kinds of music. He played jazz, he played classical, and ended up taking the bassoon up in the Army and did jazz piano gigs around the Dallas and Fort Worth and Shreveport areas where I grew up, and then played in the orchestras. So he had a pretty diverse career. My mom was a baritone horn player, but was a junior high and high school band director for 40 years. It was just always around the house. My dad would play, a lot of music, especially on the weekends, when it was time to clean up house, and we'd be listening and, running around or whatever kids do, And jazz always, well, for me, it was like the Beatles, right?
Right. Yeah.
As a kid, and me setting up pots and pans, trying to be like Ringo. And then it grew after that. They made me take piano lessons, and I wasn't that thrilled about it because I was just a normal kid. I didn't want to have to practice piano or something like that.
Right, especially that
but
era.
I finally got into it, when I was about 13, something clicked. My dad brought home like a Blood, Sweat, and Tears record, and then, of course, it was like Earth, Wind, and Fire and the horn bands, right?
Yeah.
And then something clicked. Oh, I know what it was. He brought home a Thad Jones Mel Lewis record, the big band thing,
that was the moment, huh?
The audacity of a big band, that big sound, got me in.
Oh, interesting.
Into jazz.
All right. So you began performing with Miles Davis and Freddie Hubbard at a young age, and you're writing now effortlessly transitions between small group improvisation and large ensemble arrangements. When did you realize that composition and arranging would become central to your voice as playing piano?
Very early on. When he brought home those Thad Jones Mel Lewis records, and then it was Walking in Space, Quincy Jones. I kind of was like, yeah, this is what I want to write. Like those guys. Those were my heroes. The heroes. So even before I really got into seriously studying piano and learning about technique and voicings and all that kind of stuff, it was arranging first and composition because of those guys. I wanted to be Quincy Jones.
That's a big aspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he did movies, he kind of did a lot.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
pop music, I'm interested in a lot of different kinds of music. And, I think he's one of the guys, along with Herbie Hancock, that kind of paved that way to be able to embrace R&B and
Yeah.
electronica and different contemporary classical music, and put it all together.
Yeah, I heard him doing an arrangement of "Oh Happy Day" the other day. Just came up on Spotify, just a random pick, and I thought that doesn't sound familiar. And it was Quincy Jones, so it took me by surprise.
Yeah, and that's Hubert Laws on there, right? Playing the flute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's from that record, "Walking in Space."
Well, let's transition to the new album, Invisible Piano. It feels like a convergence of different parts of your musical journey. Before we listen to some of the music, what did you want this record to convey about your current creative state?
I would say my development as far as going with first instincts, right? And then going back and editing those first instincts. This record came about for me at the Stats Gallery in Stuttgart, singing into my iPhone, looking at Giacometti sculpture or a Max Ernst painting, and singing into my phone what came to mind, what came from my ethos.
Yeah.
And then going home and transcribing it and developing it and sketching them out, and then improvising them again on the piano.
Jeez. Wow. Well, I would love to see those notes and hear those notes of what really inspired you and took you away. Then, how do you transcribe a vision into musical notes? I find that fascinating.
Well, and then also it's just trusting, having trust. I guess after all these years, I'm finally like getting to the point where I'm not overthinking so much and trusting what's really deep inside, what I hear deep inside.
One of the tracks we're highlighting on today's show is your version of James Taylor's classic Fire and Rain. In the album notes, it's described as a lyrical performance that truly showcases your piano touch. What attracted you to that song, and what did you hear in it that made you want to bring it into the world of Invisible Piano?
Well, okay, first of all, I remember that song when I was about 10. I was probably about 10 years old when that came.
Me too.
And it just had this melancholy. Of course, I didn't know what melancholy was back then, but it had this sort of quiet, cozy, contemplated feel to it, and it's always haunted me, this song, in a good way, and one day I was just messing around on the piano, and I guess I was feeling like that. I remember feeling that way as a youngster and wanting to be quiet in a way, right? And I was being quiet, and I kind of came up with this arrangement.
Nice. Well, let's listen to it now. This is Fire and Rain from Invisible Piano here on Backstage Bay Area. That was Fire and Rain from John Beasley's upcoming release, Invisible Piano. John Beasley is my guest today on Backstage Bay Area. The album arrives May 8th and features Beasley with the SWR Big Band. John, one of the things that makes this project especially interesting, as you were talking about, was sketching those musical ideas on your iPhone. How did that entire process open up new possibilities for you as a composer?
Well, the thing about singing is that it's direct. There's no muscle memory, from writing at the piano, for instance, right? Sometimes, if one would write at the piano, sometimes it is, particularly if they're a pianist, sometimes you're writing with what you already know how to play or muscle memory, and singing is a great way to get away from that. I would just have these little germs of ideas, be it just a line like right? Kind of things.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I have to learn it on the piano afterwards. But we're so locked in to what's already there. This was an opening for me to get what's trying to come out from whatever that source is. We all hear music.
Right.
I talk about this a lot when I go teach or do master classes. There's so much input in our lives. TV, internet, iTunes, Spotify, whatever. You see a lot of people walking around with headphones on all the time. So that's input. So for me, it was like, I need to get back to me hearing myself, hearing what's inside of myself, because that's your sound, and that's a muscle that you have to work just as much as, scales on the piano.
Sure.
Right? Is listening and getting that sound out of you. Because that's why we love John Coltrane. That's why we love Miles. That's why we love all these people, is because they are unique to themselves.
Mm-hmm. The title track, Invisible Piano, seems to sit right at the heart of that concept. What do you hear as the emotional center of that piece, and what should we listen for as it unfolds?
If you look at the painting, that's a good place to start. It's a painting by Max Ernst, and I'm going to get it up so I can look at it myself. It's a painting of a woman. For one thing, let me back up. It's surrealism, right? He's a surrealist.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a woman in the sky, sort of ensconced in stone, right? You see her profile, but she's kind of surrounded by stone, and she's playing what looks like a stone piano, and like she's kind of flying. And then there's this bird that's flying there next to her. And to me, it was like she's breaking out of a plateau, right? These creative plateaus we get, and artists, we get frustrated by these sometimes.
Right, yeah.
You get to the space and, you don't feel like you're that good, but people are like, it was great. It's great. But you're like, that's what we call a plateau. And usually there's a breakthrough. And to me, she's breaking through this plateau, coming out of this stone and about to fly, it's like, she's in the sky. So I think the song that you're about to hear has a lot of tension and release, which is part of plateauing and breaking through.
Wow, what a great explanation. Thank you, John. When we return, I'll ask John about the Unlimited Miles show and what Bay Area audiences can expect from this all-star Miles Davis centennial celebration taking place at the Presidio Theater. But now, let's listen to the title track, Invisible Piano, here on Backstage Bay Area. That was Invisible Piano, the title track from John Beasley's new album with the SWR Big Band. John Beasley is my guest today. John, let's pivot now to your show in San Francisco titled Unlimited Miles, Miles Davis at 100, All-Star Jazz Centennial Celebration. What a mouthful that is. It all happens at the Presidio Theater on May 14th. You're joined by a remarkable band, and the concert promises to move across the many different decades and styles of Miles Davis's music. When you started imagining this centennial project, what felt most important to you artistically?
Keep what Miles had in mind when he hired musicians. He liked people that were unique and were explorers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to put a band together that he would have dug in a way, right?
Yeah.
Unique personalities, that kind of thing. Also, it's like there's so much material there, right? Right, Steve? It's like, what do you not play? But I think I found a way out of it. People, we've been on tour now for 2 weeks, and people are really enjoying what we're doing. I think, like we're combining all these eras into one concert and not making it evolutionary or we're not going chronologically. That's a better word.
Interesting. Yeah,
right?
Sequentially. Yeah.
Right, sequentially.
Yeah.
Right. So like, for instance, we have this medley in a way where we go from 1949 Moon Dreams from Birth of the Cool, and then we jump ahead to like 1969 and play Sanctuary from Bitches Brew.
How do you do that?
And like it worked perfectly because the end of Moon Dreams has this sort of very contemporary vibe from, it almost sounds free or like 20th century classical music like Stockhausen or something. And it fits seamlessly into Sanctuary without stopping, we just kind of go there and blends it. And then we play, finish Sanctuary and go into Fat Time from 1980, which is, the comeback record, Man with a Horn.
Mm-hmm.
With Stern and Marcus, Al Foster, Miles.
Wow.
So that's one way we do it. We have another, we've got some mashups where we start with Scrapple from the Apple, and then go into a mashup of Alucha and Milestones. We have and we're playing stuff from Miles Smiles, paraphernalia and stuff. So it's a wide range of material.
Do you get into anything toward that last album, the hip hop era or anything like that? Is that?
No, we're not doing anything from doo-wop, but we have stuff from Mandala and Tutu.
Wow.
That was the material, we were playing when I was with Miles. So I was there in 1989, and that was primarily the material we were playing.
Well, that alone is worth the price of admission, I would say. Who's going to be joining you on stage?
Kurt Rosenwinkel is playing guitar. He's come out all the way from Germany to do this tour. Mark Turner, tenor. Sean Jones on trumpet. Terry Gully on drums, and Ben Williams on bass.
Nice. And finally, for people coming out to the Presidio Theater show that night, what kind of experience are you hoping they leave with?
Well, I always hope that people, get a little sense of peace and thoughtfulness, in any of my concerts, sort of getting away from their everyday lives and maybe their troubles or their anxieties, and going into a new world, right? A different place, and being able to let go and just go with us. So that's number one. Number two, we all have an appreciation for Miles, and that's why we're doing this, because all of us in the band, were so influenced by him, and he changed music so many times. It not just jazz. All kinds of people listened to him. Maybe they weren't jazz artists, but it affected how musicians play, and he affected how people listen. So deep appreciation for Miles would be great, because without him, none of us would really be doing what we're doing.
Well said. And let me remind our listeners, John Beasley will be leading Unlimited Miles, Miles Davis at 100 All-Star Jazz Centennial Celebration on Thursday, May 14th at 7:30 p.m. at the beautiful Presidio Theater tucked away in the Presidio in San Francisco. If you haven't heard about it, go check out the Presidio Theater. It is a treat. Tickets are available through presidiotheater.org, and more information on John Beasley is available at johnbeasleymusic.com. Both links will be included in the podcast show notes, and I'm also going to have to throw in the album cover there too. Since you described it, we'll give the listeners a visual too. And
Oh, cool.
John's new album, Invisible Piano, drops May 8th, so look forward to that. By the time this podcast comes out, it may be available as well too, so be sure to pick that up. John, thanks for the great conversation and being a guest on today's show.
Thanks, Steve. You had great questions, man. But I also want to tell you that tell your audience, I was at the Presidio with Mino Sinaloo.
Okay.
When was that? Must have been last September or something. And it's a beautiful hall. It sounds great. It's been remodeled. It's a great place to hear music and see concerts.
Absolutely. So, in fact, I covered that show. And it's the review is on the site backstagebayarea.com. And he had put 100, I don't think they were real candles. I hope they weren't real candles, across the stage from end to end. And he did 4 amazing songs by Miles Davis. So yeah, go check that again.
Check it out.
Check it out, John. Hey, thanks again. And we look forward to this upcoming show at the Presidio.
Sounds good.
This is Backstage Bay Area. Stay tuned for these important messages.
Are you a jazz musician preparing for a run in San Francisco? The Backstage Bay Area podcast wants to help tell your story. We are currently filling our guest lineup with the artists keeping the jazz scene alive. If you have dates booked at a local club or concert hall, let's get you on the mic to discuss your latest work. Connect with us directly. Send an email to backstage.sfbay@gmail.com. Just let us know when you'll be playing in San Francisco. That's backstage.sfbay@gmail.com.
Backstage Bay Area is dedicated to keeping jazz alive in the 415 by spotlighting the artists, presenters, and venues that sustain this music. The most meaningful way to support local jazz is simple. Show up, buy a ticket, and experience the music live. Visit BackstageBayArea.com and explore our upcoming concerts section, featuring both a weekly guide and a weekend guide to jazz shows across the region, plus the latest concert news. Thank you for keeping jazz alive in the 415.
You've been listening to the Backstage Bay Area podcast. Visit us on the web at BackstageBayArea.com. And don't forget to keep jazz alive in the 415.